Hello, beautiful beings. Love and laughter. Tanya Rainforest here. Thank you so much for showing up to receive the message. This video is for beautiful beings on their spiritual awakening path who find they have a lot of internal conversations going on in their head and they want to cleanse some of that out. Have a little less busy mind. Through examining our conversations, oh, look at my little cat back there. He's so cute sitting on the dog bed. Anyways, by examining these internal conversations, we can free up energy within our mind. Some of it is just mental noise. Some of it's your subconscious just playing old patterns and stuff, bringing stuff up to see if you respond, reacting or responding from how you're programmed. But some of these conversations are emotionally charged experiences that can be discharged, dissipated, and turned back into your energy field. But we don't even recognize or even know to do that, to deal with them, to transform them. So I had this realization a couple days ago. I had this conversation in my head that was going about. And I observed how the conversation was going. So it was emotionally charged, like it had an attitude and energy about it. And it was hyped up about something. Now I'm sure you've experienced having like an egoic conversation, like feeling you're right about something or feeling frustrated or annoyed about something and observing and be like, oh, that's kind of ego-y, but that's just part of it sometimes. Well, this is gonna have an emotion attached to it. This is the conversations I'm looking for you to look at, because those are the ones that are gonna have something to tell you. So when you see a conversation playing in your mind and you've noticed that it's kind of a repetitive thing, just stop for a minute and observe how it comes through, what the emotional charge is, what the energy is around it. And if you pick up that it's got an emotional attitude and energy about it, you're onto something. So first I would stop and take a pen and write down what it's saying, because the message, the experience of what's going on is conveyed in those words and then the emotion that's in there. So we write it down, we see what it's saying, and then we want to witness, feel into, connect with the emotion behind it. Now, I don't quite remember what was said in my conversation a few days ago when I had this realization, but I do know it was charged with anger. I said something in my mind that was very cocky and very blamey. And, before I jumped on the wagon to judge myself on that, I just witnessed the whole experience of what it was saying and the emotion of it. So I was like, okay. And then I kept, listening to it in my head, and I was like, oh, you're angry about something. Okay. All right. So I wrote it down, because now I'm getting it out of my head too. Not only am I looking to understand the message of what my subconscious, my mind is trying to tell me that is in there that's unresolved, but it's also showing me things. So we get it out. We learn what it's saying. We get it out of our head, because some of these things could be just rotating like a broken record playing over and over and over again. Then you're like, that needs some dealing with. Okay, I can do that. So we write down the message. We get the feeling of the emotion. And then based on what the conversation is, what can we do about it? Now, what we can do about it is going to be the path of least resistance. So like find the easiest thing you can do for it. And for me, what I've been doing is when these conversations come up is I go into a shamanic journey and I take this conversation and I either cleanse it or I go on a journey to find out more information about it. I've also been doing some artwork around some of the conversation I'm having. If I'm mad, you know, I might be just throwing a lot of red and blacks and anger into my art. And also connecting with that emotion through that conversation. Like, oh, you're mad about that. Isn't that interesting? Okay. I can feel that. I can let that exist. You know, giving it the space that it needs so it doesn't have to continually play like a broken record in the background. And, you know, turn into a limiting belief or turn into something bigger. You know, these things show up for us for a reason, and if a little bit of acknowledgement isn't given, a lot of times they just keep going. They start collecting more and they get bigger and get bigger. So the conversation, and it's got an emotional charge to it. What's that emotional charge about? Can you understand why you're angry? Like, are you not taking care of yourself in a certain way? Was your boundary crossed? Were you not tending to something that needed to be tended to? A lot of times the emotion and the conversation can lead to something that wanted to be done but wasn't. So it's a little bit of an unpacking, a little bit of, you know, finding the clues to unravel the message that it wants to tell you. You know, up till now, I really, when I'd see those conversations, I just thought that, what did I think? I mean, I knew I've had a lot of emotionally charged conversations going on in my head, but I usually just let them play out in my head and then they move on. But when I take action with them, I notice that the energy diminishes. Like, there's been a few times when I've had the conversation and the emotional charge in my mind and I've written it down and posted on Facebook, and it ends up being a really powerful message for people and they connect with it. See, that's just another form of taking action with it. So it's the play of alchemy. It's taking energy that is hanging out with a message for a purpose that isn't necessarily getting any resolve, and we're turning it back into resolve by creating some kind of action that will allow it to transform. It's like little receptor antennas putting their feelers out like, meh, meh, meh. There's something to take a look at right here. Meh, meh, meh. Please address me. Meh, 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 meh. Oh, excuse me, over here. I want to tell you something. How do I get your attention? Here's the conversation, and here is the emotion. It's so simple. I don't know how I didn't see this before, but I just really appreciate these little perception shifts that the universe just brings to me. It's like magical. So next time I have a conversation like that come up in my mind, I'm gonna play with it. I'm gonna witness it. I'm gonna write it down. And I'm gonna see the words that are going down, in there, and then I'm going to feel that emotion, and I'm going to see what the emotion wants me to do. Because there's a part of me that's upset that something hasn't been done. That's really where it's at. You know, and oftentimes these are the conversations that will come up when, like, you do an energy healing with somebody, or if you're in a conversation with somebody, you won't even realize that, you know, something that bugs you is quietly playing underneath, and you say it, but it's not quite sinking in that you need to do something with it other than talk about it, you know, because the emotion necessarily probably hasn't been witnessed yet. And that's the missing piece to it. You know, sometimes we'll, you know, be with people and have to vent and get something off of our shoulders. Like, oh, this really irritated me. And you'll say the conversation that's been playing in your head, but the emotion hasn't been quite established or connected with it, or you haven't done anything about it other than complain about it. So once you get that missing link and loop it back, then things free up, and most likely that conversation will dissolve and be done. If you got any questions or comments about this conversation, I open it up for you now to go ahead and put them down there. Maybe open up to what kind of conversations you got playing in your mind and what emotions do you have behind it. If you're confused and you don't know what it is, go ahead and put in the comments. We can play a little game and unravel it for you. If you feel called to subscribe or like this video, and I'd very much appreciate the support to help get the message out. If not, no big deal. Yeah, just be gentle with yourself and subtly observe those little things that come up, because they add up to be the big things. You know, our internal dialogue really dictates out here. So when we can tend to the garden and clear space here and be more at peace and in harmony with ourselves, then that's going to reflect outward. Beautiful beings, thank you so much for showing up to receive the message here. Tanya Rainbow Horse. Until the next video, love and laughter.